Hi, everybody. Welcome to Next to Media. I'm Mike Shields. My guest this week is Julia Moonves. She's Pocket Watch's SVP of Ad Sales and Brand Partnerships. Hey, Julia. Thanks for being here.
Hey, no problem. How's it going?
Pretty good. Psyched to talk to you because you're a company. This is a company that I've been kind of paying attention to for a while. It's like I feel like it's one of those things. If you're in the know, you know about Pocket Watch, but probably not everybody does. So why don't we start there in terms of, can you kind of give us the basics? What is Pocket Watch? When was it? When did you guys start it? When was who's in charge? What's it all about?
Yeah, totally. So at its core, Pocket Watch is a kids media company. We're the largest independent studio, and we partner with content creators, primarily families and kids that have gotten extremely popular on YouTube. We partner with them to help them grow their businesses off of YouTube and on YouTube, basically build franchises out of these mega popular creator families that have built giant fan bases on these social platforms.
Okay. And the company's not very old, right? How long has Pocket Watch been around? Who owns it? What's the ownership?
We're not that old. I joined Pocket Watch in early 2018. I believe the company was about a year old when I joined.
Okay.
So started in 2017.
We're talking about 5-ish years or so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right.
A Gen Alpha company for sure.
Yes.
And it was founded by Chris Williams, who was most recently chief audience officer at Maker Studios, which was one of those giant MCNs back in the day kind of thing.
YouTube companies. Yep.
Yeah. And so Chris's big thesis with Pocket Watch was, while at Maker, which was during the massive sort of gaming boom, where you had creators like PewDiePie popping up and just dominating on YouTube, the kids and family space is what was growing most rapidly, where it wasn't just kids watching on the platform, which everyone kind of knew. Kids watch and love YouTube. But it was content for kids that was growing like crazy, whether it's nursery rhyme content or like toy play videos, unboxing, all that sort of stuff. So Chris's big thing was, look, these creators have audiences that are as engaged and they love them as much as they love, Marvel characters or SpongeBob or Dora the Explorer, these mega popular kids brands. But there's only one way to engage with them. There's only one way to consume their content or engage, which is to go to YouTube and watch them. Why not bring franchise economics to these mega popular brands that are growing?
So that you actually led me to a couple of different questions there. So there was because I was wondering if there was an insight into, obviously the last 5 years, 10 years, you're seeing media habits broadly change, but kids are always leading that, or often lead that. So, was there an opening that the company saw versus this is already happening and we should do something more with it? I think it sounds like it's the latter.
Yeah, it's sort of the latter. I'm remembering our early pitch decks that showed just the decline of linear kids television and the growth of YouTube content, and showing the reach of our partner Ryan's World, their channel, their monthly US uniques compared to like a Nickelodeon or a Disney, where Ryan's beating them by a certain amount every month, where it was part of educating the market on the opportunity here.
So I'm jumping around. I apologize, but I was going to ask who are some of the bigger channels or creators? I think a lot of people have heard of Ryan's World, probably.
Right.
Especially if you have children in the last 5-10 years. Are there some other big names? And is your roster mostly kids? Is it families? Is it people that are good at communicating to kids? What's it look like?
Yeah, great question. So Ryan's World is one of our largest partners. We're also partnered with Kids Diana's show, who we say is the most subscribed creator on YouTube. She's got a bunch of different YouTube channels, dubs her content into tons of different languages, and has, I'm forgetting the stat now, like hundreds of millions of subscribers on the platform. Then we also work with a channel called Toys and Colors, which is typically the most viewed channel on YouTube over the past year or so. They often beat Mr. Beast in terms of monthly US views. So they're massive. And all of these channels tend to work for, I'd say like bridge demo, let's say 4 to 8, 4 to 7-year-olds. And so usually kids are at the center, but the families are extremely involved, and the families are, characters within the content, just because, when you're 4 or 5, you want to play with your parents. Like those are your buddies things.
Yes.
So yeah, it's mainly families that we work with. Not necessarily, trying to think if we have some older adults that are creators that mainly appeal to an older generation, but for the core audience, it's typically families making content with their kids. To answer that.
Okay. So a bunch of questions. I always trying to think of like, how do we always want to put companies in buckets in media and advertising. What are you? Are you there? Are you, you mentioned a lot of different players, and the market has obviously changed. Are you more like the next version of a kids production studio, or are you more like a network that's going to have its own brand? Are you really like a behind the scenes MCN type company, ad network program? Like, well, how should we think about you if there's a standard way that you work?
Yeah, that one, it's a tough one because we kind of do everything a bit. I'd say it's sort of a modern approach to all those different lines of business. So my work on the advertising side, you can sort of think of us almost more as a traditional MCN where we can partner with channels, access their ad inventory and sell it for them and work with brands to target those channels with advertising. We have a CMS, all of that sort of stuff. There's also, we're a distributor because the channels that we partner with, we have access to all of their YouTube libraries. So we create content that can then be distributed on all these major platforms. So we're on Hulu, Peacock, Pluto, Samsung TV Plus, Roku. You can find all of our content. So we function almost as a distributor there. We also have a whole studio and production arm that makes original series and films and TV shows.
Yeah.
So just all the different sort of ways to work with content and ways to be involved in the kids media space. We have arms of the company that
okay, because there's a couple of different things you mentioned that I want to ask you about, but the because I think people might wonder, well, you mentioned Maker, and there was that era when you had Maker and Machinima and Full Screen and Style Hall.
Right.
I think people wonder, oh, well, does the MCN thing work? So, and can that last? It's not like you're doing some aspects of that, but not all of them. But this is not, I don't know if it's a question, but was the original thinking, let's up level some of these creators and do the franchise thing. Let's do original programming. Let's do, merchandise, stuff like that. Or is it build a better business on YouTube for some of them and some of them will go on to do other bigger projects? Like, is there a uniform way of thinking about this?
Yeah, I would say, so MCN is the way to describe sort of our business of working with channels. Like we're multi-channel network. We partner with channels, so there's multiple of them. But MCN is kind of a dirty word in the space now for both creators and the companies that ended up acquiring all of the MCNs.
Right.
Didn't work out great for them in the long run. So I don't think we try to position ourselves as an MCN too frequently. It's not a term I use when I'm out talking to partners or pitching. But if there's people that have been in this space long enough to remember that MCN term, I'm like, yes, you can think of us in that way. We do have those capabilities. The idea is, work with these creators, help them grow their business. There's tons of dollars to be had in this industry if you can safely and effectively reach Gen Alpha. So that's the benefit for us. And if there's, if you could hit a couple singles and some turn into home runs or get you to home plate, that's awesome. Right. So that's how we think about it.
And when you mentioned being on Hulu and Samsung TV, it might vary widely by creator. Are you talking about taking existing YouTube content and packaging it up for like a fast channel, or do you mean like a bunch of these creators have originals for those platforms, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So we have streaming fast linear channels, and we also have AVOD content. So we have an entire team that's dedicated to what's the process? It's curate, cure, enrich, and package. Okay. So the curating is identifying the creators that we want to partner with, signing them, then curating their library, finding what's the best stuff on here. What do people like watching the most? What's most engaging? What's good for kids to be consuming? And then pulling those videos and then basically stripping them of anything that feels overly YouTube-y. So none of our content that's on CTV or OTT features creators saying, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Right. That's a little weird.
Yeah, we make sure the music is stuff that doesn't have to live exclusively on YouTube. It can be in the background of their stuff. There's no, infringement on logos or third-party stuff. And then we package those. We can package them into 11-minute and 22-minute episodes. We add animated interstitials and wraparounds. We give them titles. So it's basically taking what kids love from YouTube and turning into premium-feeling content for streaming services. Then we also have our studio that creates original animated IP and live action content that we distribute there as well.
Okay, I have a bunch of questions based on what you just said, but I want to step out for a second. Let's talk about the lay of the land, big picture wise, with kids media and advertising. It's funny because way back early in my career, I worked on a couple of kids brands, Lego and BK Kids, and there was a very standard playbook, right? You still did the Saturday morning thing. You were tons of Nickelodeon, but it was like kids watched a lot of live television. You were just trying to rack up GRPs and that was it. It's obviously changed a ton, but if you're a kid's brand right now, I would imagine it's hard to figure out where to start sometimes. Like what does it look like if you're a toy maker or you're a kid's brand that wants to go out and try and reach these audiences today?
Yeah, I think it's a lot harder because to your point, 20 years ago, you just throw all your money at Saturday morning cartoons and Nickelodeon, and that's your marketing plan. And now there's just the audience is kind of all over the place, primarily on YouTube and on, connected television.
Yep.
If I'm getting into the space, I think I'm identifying who are the biggest channels that are reaching my demo, right? Who are the Ryan's Worlds that connect with the kids I'm looking to reach? And, putting together a plan that features, I would primarily run on YouTube. I would go to maybe the Roku channel for their massive reach in the kids space and basically partner on pre-roll media is the most effective way to reach kids still, I think. And there's the YouTube Kids app, which is completely siloed from YouTube main. It's a standalone app that is, guaranteed to be COPPA compliant, has a lot of, you joke about the walled garden. I'm like, look, YouTube Kids has the walled garden.
Yeah, that thing is locked down.
On the top. Yeah, you can't get in there unless you know a company that can directly access that inventory. Pocket.watch is one of them.
Right.
But I would run a ton of media on YouTube Kids just because no one else is accessing that inventory because Google is not good at selling it. They're not used to selling it. They don't know how to sell contextually. They only know how to sell based on 1,000 data points they know about their audience, which you can't do with kids. So I would run on YouTube Kids, YouTube connected television, and some larger CTV platforms like the Samsungs and Roku channel and things like that.
I want to come back to the YouTube where they see the kids marketed or not. But let's just tell me about some of the programs you work on. Are they typically, like you said, if you're an advertiser just calling up Pocket.watch, it's the first thing to do and doing a lot of pre-rolls on the right channels? Are you doing a lot of branded content, custom deals with brands? And it probably depends on the age group and how long they've been at it. But what do those deals look like for you?
Totally. Yeah. We kind of do it all because the industry, as you mentioned, is really in flux. Everyone's trying to figure it out. Everyone has their siloed teams that do custom or they do digital video or they're shifting their linear team to doing CTV and figuring all of that out. So we try to figure out ways to work with any of those groups. But my favorite programs to sell in and to build packages around are ones that involve custom content, commercial cut downs, which I can get into, and then strategic COPPA compliant pre-roll media on YouTube. So the custom pieces are typically we find a big creator or multiple big creators that really work for the client and the brand, come up with a concept, and the creator makes a great video, uploads it to their channel, gets tons of organic traffic and viewership from their audience. We also partner with them to get cut down rights. So we'll make a 15 or a 30-second spot around the product starring the creator that we can then run as pre-roll. And then we build in.
So that's almost like a branded, taking a branded content piece and make it into a pre-roll, sort of?
Exactly. Yeah. But we have a system where it's like, okay, if we know we're going to make a cut down, we'll make sure they get some B-roll footage. They'll get some island shots of the product. We'll get this VO from them saying, part sold separately or whatever you might need to add into the end of the commercial. So yeah. And that is fantastic because then when you run an ad starring this creator on YouTube, it feels very endemic to the platform and the video completion rates are much higher on that type of ad.
So do you have any good examples of some recent efforts you've done that really took advantage of the different kind of creators you work with and a smart brand?
Yeah, we've done a few programs like this. We're in the middle of a few right now with Hasbro, who's very smart in terms of how they think about these things. They come to us basically, here's a product, here's who we're looking to reach. What do you recommend? So we'll give them some creator options. They're very smart in terms of the space and what works for creators. There's an understanding of look, we know trick shots are big, so let's do trick shot themed content for, this new Beyblade product. Or, we did a very fun program with Nerf recently where they also lean into YouTube Shorts, which is the new, video product that YouTube loves and is sort of their TikTok killer.
Yeah.
So doing shorts as well, Hasbro's been very savvy with that. We've created cut downs that are currently running for this product across our YouTube inventory. And then we're also doing just regular pre-roll on YouTube main and YouTube Kids with these guys.
Are you finding with you mentioned shorts? It still feels like brands they're enthusiastic about it, but they're not always sure how to approach it because it's a tight time frame. I'm guessing you're seeing kids watching shorts in a pretty big way, but what are you finding there? It's probably pretty early, but are brands able to squeeze in messaging in an effective way?
Yeah. There's a bit of an art to it that's still being figured out because it's very easy if you only have, 45 to 60 seconds for it to just feel like a commercial. If you have, 6 talking points you want to get across, that's the whole video.
It's over fast.
Yeah, exactly. So, and creators are also working to figure out like, how do they stay authentic to what they do and still get in the messaging for the advertiser? So there's a bit of an art to it. We do find kids watching YouTube shorts a ton these days because it's finally a platform they're allowed to be on that they can do the vertical scrolling thing because, all the older cool kids are on TikTok doing that. So now they've got their own version of it that they can use.
Let's talk about backing up a little bit, but you mentioned how, YouTube has its own kids app. I wonder in a perfect world, they would love to have only kids on there and no kids on YouTube. It has not worked out that way, obviously.
Right.
But it's a weird thing where I wonder if originally kids weren't supposed to be on any of these platforms. They obviously came on a big way and with their parents, sometimes without. Brands had to be careful. They wanted to, They probably would love to just like be on YouTube Kids and be totally safe because there's no targeting, but then they don't want to miss their audience. Where do you see that? Is YouTube conflicted about it? Have we found a way that this works for everybody? Or brands just, figured out, okay, we can be on all these things and it's not going to get us in any trouble or piss somebody off?
Yeah, I think YouTube was conflicted about it for a while because the under 13s are such a massive segment of their audience. And for a while it was like, okay, we don't want to discourage, kids from using this platform because it's so many of the eyeballs that are watching. And it sets you up with a customer then for the rest of their life in theory. But they sort of didn't know what to do. And then they launched their MFK designation, which is made for kids. And so that is a designation that creators can opt into or that YouTube will apply to content that is clearly made for kids. And that designation prevents any data collection on that content and doesn't make that video content targetable with any sort of audience directed advertising. It all has to be contextual ads that run on that content. And that's been their solution. And that's something that, we typically only run on made for kids videos. That's what pocket.watch does to make sure we're running on COPPA compliant content. And that's the problem for creators with that designation is the minute it came into effect, their revenue tanked. Like you can go back and look at revenue between pre MFK designation and post, and it's just,
is that because, so let's say I'm, my kids have a YouTube channel and I was really successful. Was that, and they made me label it made for kids. Why would that tank? Because I was making money from all kinds of adult advertisers accidentally or through targeting?
Yeah, through not your fault as the content creator, you were in the YouTube monetization program, which is good for you. And when they made the made for kids designation, it cut off any targeting that would be based on data collection from a user, which is how everyone uses Google. Everyone goes to Google to advertise because it's like, all right, look, I want to reach men between
that's the magic power of it, right?
That are interested in X, Y, and Z. So if your kids are watching on your account, all the ads that'll be served are based on your data and things like that. So when you cut off the knowing a ton about the user source of revenue, then revenue just drops.
Now, has that right sized a little bit? Like at this point now they've figured it out and just can get enough kids targeted advertisers to make up for that, or is it never going to be the same?
I don't think it's ever going to be the same. YouTube and Google have not figured it out. It's not an area they're investing in very much as far as you can tell. But that's one of our main selling features to new creator partners. It's like, look, we have a dedicated sales team that only sells kids inventory. We only run on made for kids content. We can make you guys money by selling your ad inventory because no one else is out there really.
Yeah, you don't have to do any crazy targeting. It's your kids. We do kids, and this should bring new business.
Yeah, I don't think it's an area YouTube or Google is looking to invest in. And it's a bit complicated to talk to them about it. They don't ever typically want to discuss it too much.
Yeah, it's not probably not though. Like there's so many other things they'd rather talk about. Are the other, not to go off topic, are the other platforms, I don't know how many kids, I'm sure kids use, I know teens use Instagram and TikTok for sure. I don't know how many
Yeah.
kids the parents park their kids in front of those apps as much. Is there business there, or is there a kids audience there that money can be made on, or is it not really a place where there's a lot of
I don't
opportunity?
think we're quite there yet. There's definitely kids on TikTok and things like that. Like my niece and nephew love to watch my TikToks
Right.
with me. Like that's an activity that we do. But they, I don't think these platforms are not stressing COPPA compliance. So there may need to be some FTC, regulations that apply, some fines that come in, and then maybe they'll have those solutions. But right now, we don't really use off YouTube platforms for that sort of thing. We have, marketing content that we'll put that's intended for parents to see on those platforms, but that's not where we tend to identify most of our partners or where we see our audience being.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I should get back to you. You've had a recently pretty big month or so with you've worked with Ryan's World for a while. They had a big movie project. Can you kind of tell that story about how that came about and what's going on there?
Yeah. A movie was always sort of the dream for the Ryan's World family and their whole business. We've done so much with them. When we partner with Ryan's World, the channel is called Ryan's Toys Review, and they just were massive on YouTube. It was just Ryan and his parents. They call him the unboxing kid, but most of his content was him playing with toys. It wasn't necessarily, what you think of when you think of an unpackaging, unboxing type video. And they were hugely popular. The family had already built out sort of this universe around Ryan with these animated characters, and it was super robust. He also has these twin younger sisters who are adorable. So we've done a ton with them. We helped them with their rebrand of the channel to Ryan's World and launch their toy line. It was the first creator toy line in Walmart, and sort of set up that
huge.
creator toy business. Yeah. And then we created a show with them for Nickelodeon that was, number one on the channel for 4 seasons, called Ryan's Mystery Playdate. And that was a first, creator-led premium TV show that was available. And so a movie was always sort of the dream, and it just seemed like the next logical step in this franchise and its growth and all that sort of stuff.
And the movie came out in August, correct?
Yes, just came out August 16th. We all had it drilled into our heads. Hit theaters August 16th. Yes.
And what was the build up to that like, and the marketing program? It's probably a first for your company, a pretty unique moment.
Yeah. It was a first for us. It was also a first for the industry. This was the first, creator-led, creator-driven, wide theatrical release. We were in, it was over 1,200 theaters nationwide. Super exciting. Also in the UK and Canada and places like that. But yeah, super, super exciting. My team was very involved so we run all of the ad operations for obviously our clients, but then our marketing team also comes to us to execute campaigns.
Right. You're your own client in a way.
Yeah, exactly. We give them a good deal.
Right.
Yeah. We're doing channel takeovers, coming up with creative assets to promote the film. We also, our creator partnerships team reached out to basically every YouTuber on the planet and basically was talking them into creating content to promote the film.
Yeah.
To try to message like, look, in success, this sets up a whole new category for
because this won't be the last one if things go right. I mean, presumably,
people don't forget. Like if this goes well, this sets you up for a new way to do business. If it does not, then
interesting.
Good luck making a movie in the next 5 years.
Right. Okay, a couple more things from me. This is terrific. Tell us we mentioned the Maker Studios, or you were there, and the MCN Crazy Boom. Mm-hmm. Do you have any good weird stories or wacky stories from that moment, or what that space was like? That was really before this creator thing had been well established, I think.
Yeah.
At least the eyes of advertising and media execs in my world.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, it was a crazy time it's one of those things. Everyone at the company was basically, there was like anybody that was over 40 was a grown up, and everyone else was like 22-year-olds just running around like deciding how this business is going to work. So when you're that young and in it, you think like, this is my job, this is my career. But looking back, it was like, Jesus, these kids, we didn't know what we were doing, setting all this stuff up. But one of my favorite Maker stories was definitely, during that time, it was one of those things where big names, big celebrities wanted to get involved in YouTube and have a YouTube channel.
Sure.
And certain celebrities did it well. Certain celebrities didn't do it so well and had some sort of failed attempts. But one of our largest partners at Maker was Snoop Dogg, who had a YouTube channel with us. And
excellent.
we used to get these emails from HR on days when Snoop was going to be in the studio, just being like, you may smell something funny around Studio G today. Like, you have, if you're sensitive to any sort of substances, please don't go near studio. And it would, like, the whole studio space would smell like weed all day.
That's exactly what you would imagine.
Yeah.
Okay. And now he is the face of the Olympic athlete.
Yep, exactly.
That's fun. Of course. It's got to be a Snoop story. All right. What, give us a couple of things. Like, what do you think's next in this space that maybe brands or media executives should know about? What's next for you guys? Like, I wonder if we're going to see more, I would call it like almost traditional kids. Like, are we going to see scripted content be a thing? Are kids not ever going to be into that anymore? Like, what do you see is next in this space?
Yeah. In terms of what's next in the space, I think about advertising a ton. So what I'm trying to sort of push into fruition right now is, like, I don't think advertisers appreciate how powerful Gen Alpha is in household purchase decisions.
Yeah.
Like, they control billions in how much, like, households are spending on random things. Like, it's not just toys and movies, but they're deciding where you go on vacation, what kind of car you buy.
Yep.
They're deciding what, tech you have in the house. They're deciding everything for the household. So, I think brands leading into this generation as key decision makers in the home is important. And then for the space, I think it'll be maybe less scripted. I think the kids space has too much animated content out there right now. Not necessarily that animated content is bad, but what Pocket Watch kind of prides itself on is we partner with these creators that have this organic audience. Our creator network is very diverse just because that's what becomes popular on these platforms.
Sure.
Kids that can't see themselves in, two animated turtles talking to each other or something, see themselves in these families and these kids they look like them. Their family structure looks like them. They get to watch them playing with their families all day long. So that's what they enjoy. So I hope it's a lean away from overstuffing the market with animated content that feels safe to brands and leaning more into these families that reflect the kids that are watching.
That's interesting. That's something to watch going forward, probably across media.
Totally.
Julia, awesome conversation. Thanks so much for your time. Hopefully we'll chat again.
Yeah, of course. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.